Hello and welcome to the Gonzales Mitchell Show. I'm Clay Mitchell.
And I'm Patrick Gonzales. And Clay, ever since Chicago a couple of weeks ago, that groovy convention,
Yeah,
you and I
baby.
have been you and I have been flashing back to 60, 68 in particular. I've been doing
Right.
a little traveling in my mind back to 69, July 20th, 1969. We landed a man on the moon. How cool was that? You know what? This is a little known trivia fact. Well, I don't know if it's a little known, but it's forgotten. We landed a man on the moon on Sunday, July 20th, 1969. 2 days prior, Friday, July 28th, was when that horrific accident happened up at Chappaquiddick with Senator Kennedy.
Right.
And then, several weeks after the moon landing, we had that groovy party up in Bethel, New York, at Woodstock. And oh, you and I we were dancing in the
Love,
rain.
love and peace, baby. Love and peace.
Oh man, I was far out. I was loving and I was piecing. And then, soon after that, that whole kind of bizarre idiot Charles Manson out in LA happened. It all kind of was going on at the same time. But I've been
Right.
because of the events of the Democratic convention in Chicago that have been causing us to flash back and just get mellow and feeling good vibes. I've gone back to 64,
Ooh.
specifically February 9th, 1964. I'm living with my family in New York City in the Bronx. I'm in first grade at PS 81. And in the apartment that we lived in that day is just this upbeat kind of vibe. I'm a 7-year-old kid. I'm saying, what's going on? And all of a sudden, I came to realize that kind of energy and juice in the house was being produced by my 13 and 14-year-old sisters. Because that night on the Ed Sully Rock show, we're going to
Sully
be four young and real quick, not to digress, but it's Ed Sully
right.
Rock. Because remember the Flintstones? On the
Flintstones.
Flintstones, Ed
Yes.
Sullivan was
Yes.
Ed. 2 years was Ed Sully Rock. Perry Mason was Perry Masonry. Rock Hudson was Rock Quarry and so on. But anyway, so it's Sunday. It's Sunday, February 9th, 1964. I'm a young kid, but I'm still feeling moving and grooving. And because of my sisters. And that night on Ed Sully Rock were John Winston Lennon, James Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Richard Starkey, a.k.a. Ringo Starr,
Ringo
the
Starr.
Beatles. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to hold your
Yo,
hand.
yeah.
Yeah. Dude, it was just one of those. It's one of those remembrances I still have in my mind. My sisters were up dancing, going crazy. If we went back and looked at those four mop-haired Liverpudlians or whatever you call someone from Liverpool, and I'm just going through and I'm thinking, and then from that point forward in the rest of the 60s, I just love the Beatles. And you and I have known each other a long time. And it's just kind of while I was thinking about it, it dawned on me. I don't know another human being that knows more Beatles trivia than you do, brother. So talk to me.
Patrick, the sad thing is, from about 1966 on, it wasn't the Beatles because Paul McCartney died in a car crash
I
Wednesday
know.
morning at 5 o'clock as the day
I
begins. God
I
buried Paul.
buried Paul.
And that's one of the things to this day. You can't convince some people that he's not dead. Even I had a
But you
coffee
can't
phone
convince some
radio.
people. You can't convince
Okay.
some people that Elvis is dead.
But there was, and I remember we did a college project on this, and I think when I was in radio, I did a couple of radio things on this. But there were a lot of clues uncovered that tried to show that, it was a big hoax. He was dead. If you take the Magical Mystery Tour album and turn it upside down and look at the stars in
Right,
where it says Beatles, it forms a telephone
right.
number. And allegedly, there was a disc jockey who called Liverpool at that number, and he was going to ask for the dead Beatle. And he was given an address over the phone at this number, sent an envelope, and he licked the envelope and sent it back in, wanting information on the dead Beatle. And the
Right.
envelope was laced with LSD.
Oh, geez.
And if you look at the
Man.
Magical Mystery Tour album, Paul's sitting there dressed as the walrus, which allegedly is a symbol of death. If you look at the Tibetan Book of the Dead, now this is getting really groovy 60s stuff.
Oh
It's
man,
also a
this is
symbol.
I am the walrus. Oh, this is groovy stuff.
It's
Tell
a,
me more.
it's also a symbol of death. If you have a hand, oh, if there's a picture of somebody that has a hand over their head, if you look
Right,
at if you look at the front of Magical Mystery Tour, there's a hand over Paul's head, and if you look at
right,
the Yellow Submarine album, there's a hand over his head, symbol of death. And if you look
wasn't it?
flowing on the Yellow Submarine album, flowing
Right.
from him is this little phrase that says, "Nothing is real." I'm just saying. I'm just saying, Patrick.
Now, what was Strawberry Fields on that song? Was that on Magical Mystery Tour?
It was actually released as a single, free,
Oh,
Sgt. Pepper, but was released on the Magical Mystery Tour album.
I got you. Because
Which
Sergeant, wasn't it Strawberry Fields? Is at the end is where you hear if you listen or do something. I bury Paul. Isn't
right,
that the song?
at the very,
And what
very
about? Tell
end,
me.
well,
Yeah.
yeah,
Tell
you
me
said
about
at the
the Abbey Roads when you get. I didn't mean to interrupt, but tell me about the
no,
Abbey Roads and the symbolism
yeah,
of that.
Abbey Road is right before it came out is when this rumor started coming about that he was dead, and Road was released, I think, October-ish, maybe early November 1969, and when that came out,
Right,
you see the 4 of them crossing the road, John dressed in white, Ringo dressed in a suit, Paul dressed in a suit and barefoot, and, George was in his denim jacket, and that symbolizes
right,
Patrick. John was the angel, Ringo was the
right,
preacher, Paul was the corpse because a lot of people bury their dead with no shoes on, he was barefoot, and George was the
right,
grave digger because he was dressed in denim. Paul is the only one out of step, meaning he's not with the other Beatles,
right.
and he's holding in his right hand, even though he's left-handed, a cigarette, also known as a coffin nail.
Yes,
And there's a
yes.
Beetle on Abbey Road. It's a Volkswagen Beetle. It and
Right.
the license tag says LMW 28IF, which means, in this theory, Linda McCartney weeps. Paul would have been 28 if he had lived.
Oh my. Oh, that's some good stuff.
Magical Mystery Tour. Ringo has his drum set, and it looks like this psychedelic thing. It says love,
Right,
and underneath it says the Beatles, but there's this little squiggly line between love and the Beatles. It looks like a
right,
number 3.
right.
Love the 3 Beatles. And remember
Ooh,
Come Together, 1 and 1 and 1 is 3.
one and one and one
1
is
and 1 is
come
3.
together
And Paul
right
was
now.
George was the quiet one,
Right,
Ringo was the funny one, John
right,
was the mad one, and Paul was the good-looking one. Got to
right. Like
be
me.
good-looking got to be good-looking because he's so hard to see,
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
ghost,
That's my
maybe.
secret. The harder I am to see, the better looking I am. No, I dig it,
And
man. Now, when I remember a period, and I'm gonna text you right now and try to pinpoint you. When was that sort of obsessive Paul is dead? It lasted, into my remember, about a month. When did that happen in '69? Is that when that whole
69.
thing?
It was
'69 is when
1969.
that's yeah.
In
It was
fact,
just
I forgot what month it was in the fall of '69. They put out a Life magazine says, Paul's still with us. And he had that famous line, the reports of my death are greatly exaggerated. But to this
right, just
day,
like Mark Twain.
there's YouTube videos and websites and all that have to do with this, which goes to show, Patrick, you can't fool some of the people all the time.
Absolutely. You can fool me all the time, but no, I dig it. And What is that song that you play backwards and it has a
Oh,
hint to it? Which one is that?
yeah, there's a couple of them. There was it's an avant-garde song called Revolution 9 off the White Album. And it
Right,
starts off where this guy says, number nine, number nine, number nine. And you play it backwards, and you have to have a turntable. We used to spin the record backward on the turntable. It says,
right.
turn me on, dead man. Turn me on, dead man. Turn me on, dead man.
Oh, ooh. You
And
know what?
remember,
One of my
and remember a day in the life. I'd love to turn you on. Hey,
I'd
babe.
love to turn you on.
Patrick, they if if this was a hoax, it was genius. It sold more records because people were buying records just to look at the clues. Um, there was an
It was
album.
so
It's
creative. It
yeah,
was so
it's like
creatively
it,
done.
yeah, it was such a weird, fascinating thing. Because I mean, I was totally into it, looking it up and researching all the death clues. Um, there was a in Sergeant Pepper. He's in the middle sleeve where you open it up, and he has a patch here. It says OPD. You know,
Right,
like in England, instead of uh, rest in peace or whatever it's officially
right.
pronounced dead. I'm just saying,
Oh, OPD. So RIP is rest in peace, and OPD is officially
officially
pronounced
pronounced
dead.
dead.
That's one word I don't want to know how to pronounce.
He was replaced
You
by
know,
William Camp. He was replaced by William Campbell, the winner of the Paul McCartney lookalike contest. His
yeah.
name,
Well, that's because I was too
William
young.
is
Yeah,
William is Billy, and
right.
they announced
Oh,
that
Billy, the one and
Billy's
only
here.
Billy Shears.
Billy's here.
Billy's
You know,
here. Oh,
I can't make this up, Patrick. I'm just reporting
no, I
the fact.
love it. I love it. You know what? I got it, dude. I'm feeling mellow. I'm gonna burst into out of my chair if I don't sing. I got to sing one of my favorite little segments of a Beatles song. Her name was McGill, and she called herself Lil, but everyone knew her as Nancy. Ooh, I
Hey,
love
that,
that song.
yeah, was that Rocky Raccoon? Rocky
Rocky Raccoon
Raccoon.
checked into
Um,
the room.
and if you ever get in the mood for it, and it takes a lot of stamina. Revolution
Right,
9 on the White Album. If you listen to it and listen to
right.
the sound collages, the whole thing's about a car crash.
Oh, gee.
The
Yeah, yeah.
the whole
Yeah,
thing.
turn it back to turn me on to the beginning. The car. Help me with the
Right.
lyrics. Come on, sing a little
Yeah.
for me right now. Sing it
Yeah.
for me.
There's no words to it. It's just a sound collage that John and George mainly have put together.
Ooh,
It's about a car
ooh,
crash. Then you can hear fire in
ooh,
the background, a guy gasping, and there's one point, and I forgot where it is. If you spin it backwards, it says Paul is dead. Paul is dead. Paul is dead.
ooh. That John Lennon, he was a groovy dude. I mean,
He was, baby.
kind of. I mean, and I was a kid. I thought it was cool. I was a senior in college when he was murdered, and it broke my
Yeah.
heart. But that dude, he went out there. Remember, they went to and Harrison was, I think, the biggest one. They went to wherever, to the America, not America, Bangladesh, and they met the Marrakesh, or they met the Maharishi or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And John Lennon hooks up with Yoko Ono, and oh my lordy, there was some groovy things going on back then.
A lot of groovy things happening in that little village in India in 1968. And that's
Right,
sort of like between their psychedelic thing and Magical Mystery Sergeant Pepper. Then they did the White Album, which was psychedelic too, but they took a different
right.
direction. Of course, they had to because Paul was dead.
Paul was dead, and that, it just wasn't the same without him. And
Yeah, man.
the one and only Billy Shears or Billy Campbell just didn't cut it. No. And it was sort of,
Yesterday,
well, that's how Ringo got.
yeah,
Yesterday,
yesterday.
all my troubles.
Hey, I'm not half the man I used to be. I don't know who's
No,
talking,
I'm
Billy
not.
Shears or Paul.
I know. And that Eleanor Rigby, she was quite a chick. I'll tell her, quite a woman.
It was
Sorry
good. The
about that.
original it was instead of Father Mackenzie wiping the dirt from his hands as he walks from the grave. The original lyrics was Father McCartney doing that.
Ooh, it was
And,
one Father McKenzie watching the hand from the grave. Ooh,
John and Paul thought, "Ooh, that might be a little too close." So they opened up a
yeah.
phone book, pointed down, it was Mackenzie. So
Oh, but
I don't
how
know if he's
groovy
alive or
was
not.
this? I
Could
don't
you
know.
imagine
I
paying
would
like
put my money there.
could you imagine paying like $8,000 to go see Paul McCartney and it's Billy Shears after all these years?
Well, let me pose something even more crazy. Can you imagine paying $8,000 to go see Paul McCartney? It's Elvis Presley on the stage. How groovy would that be?
Oh, babe,
Oh my lord!
I
But you know
might pay
what?
eight thousand.
You know what? Another great song was "A Day in the Life." Now they know how many holes it takes to fill the Alberta. I'm not going to go there. I can't hit that note.
He
Oh,
he
oh, I
blew his
love
mind
that
out.
song.
He blew
He
his
blew
mind
his
out in a
mind
car.
out in the car. Oh man,
Yeah.
are you feeling the vibes I'm feeling right now?
I, Patrick, I'm always feeling the vibes, man. Ever since we did this
Oh,
podcast, I'm having these flashbacks. I don't
oh,
know if
it
it's
is, and
conflicted or
it's all
whether it's
no, baby, it's not acid induced. You know, you and I used to sit around with John and Paul and Ringo and drop acid. No, the truth of the matter is, I have never dropped acid in my life. You
right.
can count on one finger the number of times I've smoked a doober. However, it's fun to pretend that I did.
Yeah.
And you know what, though? This has all been going on since that groovy Democratic convention in Chicago when you and
It's
I were just Kamala Harris picks Tim Walz to be her running mate, and in the process, picks their spirits and puts us in a vibe that don't get no groovier than this.
it's all groovy, man. And our next podcast we'll talk about tomorrow night, or tonight rather, with the gosh, I don't even know what day it is, Patrick, anymore.
I
It's
don't
been
have a
such a groovy
clue.
experience.
Is
Tonight when the debate comes on, we'll have to have a little bit more to say about that.
yes, absolutely.
Till then, Patrick, all you need is love.
All you need groovy.
It's
Peace
time to say
out.
goodbye, Pat. It's time to say goodbye, Patrick.
Goodbye, Patrick. We'll see you all next time.
See you.